It's the state of the dungeon. It's a video that Rob does about his games. Yeah! Hello friends, I am Rob, and this is my State of the Dungeon address. This is for the game that took place on the 13th of October in the year 2022. You'll forgive my voice as I've had a cold recently, but I'll work to get through this. The game was 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, mostly, with the GUI Cubes Red Star Rising campaign, with the opening of The Coldest of Blood, Part 3 of the Red Star Rising campaign. Almost all players were in attendance with the exception of Kenna's player, who had to meet due to academic reasons, could not be with us. But with 6 people, we were well represented throughout the group. So, what happened? Well, at the end of the last session, after they had gotten through the challenging Temple of Jinxx that they saved from defilement from gnolls and dark elves, they then met back up with the troop, and just as they had a happy reunion after the successful completion of their mission, they were intersected by the Bondurant Cray and the mother of the troop, Kalnase. Cray was badly injured and barely able to hang on. Kalnase was unconscious, slung over the pommel of the horse. When they were brought down, that was where we stopped. Cray informed them that Borag had been lost, presumed dead. So, where to pick up? Obviously, a shocking cliffhanger, as basically for the troop, Borag was the father of the troop. He was this indestructible force who would throw everything he had to save everyone else. Kalnase, the mother of the troop, much the same, just as strong as her husband and a good head on her shoulders. And Cray, one of the most skilled warriors that the Blue Veil troop has ever put out. Beaten down within an inch of Cray's life, very almost the end of Kalnase, and Borag lost. What happened? Well, the party doesn't know. They passed out, and of course, the healers of the group, Selvra the Druid and Brother Anton, Cleric of Jinxx, came running over to offer what help they could. Unfortunately, their healing spells did almost nothing for those that they cast them on. They suspect that the wounds were poisoned with a particular toxin that fights against magical healing. So after they were taken back to Brother Anton's wagon for treatment, the camp was basically, or the wagon train was put on hold. Mother Selvenza came forward and said, "We're not going any further. Just make camp over in a clearing over here and we'll go from there." Which possibly was for the best, because everybody was kind of locked down at the thought that their senior members were all injured, incapacitated, or slain. So, the group kind of started to pick the pieces up. Of course, we had not played right at the end of the last session to get to this point, so they were once again finding their characters a little bit and taking in the significance of what had happened to Cray, Borag, and Kalnase. And Mother Selvenza took their group aside, as she did for nobody else. And she told them about the special purpose that the Blue Veil troop of the Hanataz had. That they were not merely entertainers and performers that would go around through the various towns selling their entertainment trades for money to keep the troop together for the benefit of the Hanataz. They also were trained with their weapons and their magical skills because the troop has powerful patrons. Those patrons protect the troop when they can, but they also request the troop's aid in collecting things like secrets, which they can be very good at doing, but also for collecting odd magical items from out of the reach and dangerous places. And the Blue Veil Troop has many who are skilled in such things. Usually, they would send one of the more skilled members off to go and collect things, but sometimes situations are different. Also, she wanted them to know that the thing that has been chasing them had been doing it for about 2 months. And it intends to destroy them. It's just how and why they're not sure. Also, important, she wanted to get information from them about the Temple of Jinxx and the nature of the ones who were trying to defile it. When she found out there were gnolls being led by dark elves, she reacted as if she had some ideas of what was going on. Especially the name that they found on the letter of the dead dark elf, Noxica. Mother Sylvensa has seen this name in dreams, although what it means she didn't reveal. So, what she needed from them was they were going to go on a very special task. The patron wanted something from a cursed ruin that most sane men would avoid. The item they're looking for is supposedly still there, despite the fact the castle fell a long time ago. And it's extremely dangerous, full of evil creatures that come off of very real and pure evil, as well as whatever else might be there. Also of danger, if they go the wrong way and don't follow the map they're going to get, they might end up unleashing something really, really hideous and terrible that could be locked down there as well. So, this is the purpose they're going off on to a haunted castle with Vestia, who's going to help them as a potent spellcaster. She can be helpful in certain amounts, but they are to take the lead. Vestia is there to advise and support them. So that's pretty significant, considering she's one of the Bondarin, the elders of the camp. She could order them all to do whatever she wants, but that isn't the role Mother Sylvensa sees her in this case. As Mother Sylvensa finished giving all this information, it was quite a lengthy amount of time for all the things that they were told, they were attacked. A flood of evil fairy creatures, dark fae of the Unseelie Court, attacked them. They were called Flobgobbins. And they are about 4 feet tall, very fast, savage, with raking claws and biting teeth. As far as fairy creatures go, they weren't really hard to figure out. You could kill them fairly easily. Could you do it before the whole mob of them surrounded you and chewed you to pieces? That's the question. Well, in this case, and owing to the particular skills of the group, the whole mob attacked en masse. And the ace up their sleeve was that Vestia was there, as she was up in the first wagon with them. So she threw a fireball and got rid of a quarter of them. The rest of the group handled rather capably. Starting off, I still have a hard time believing this, but Crendon marched right up to the front and invited himself to be surrounded as a target, which they gladly did. They're not very smart. Crendon is not the best armored person, but he got incredibly lucky. Truly Jinxx was with him that day, because he only got hit a few times. Now, granted, the wounds were pretty bad, especially for a second level bard. However, that being said, he weathered the attack, and they obliged him with what he wanted, so he cast his Thunder Wave, which did significant damage to most of them, killing 5 outright, sparing only 3, and yeah, that instantly announced that there was trouble, so it also set off the alarm. Good on him. Well, while this was going on, the rest of them moved up and started administering their combat tactics. Of course, Ventov, Haranen, they moved up to form a wall to protect Mother Sylvensa and the first wagon. Brandel moved up and used Burning Hands, and she cooked a lot of the little buggers. 5 of them in a stroke, which really did help because she got the flank that would have otherwise tried to overwhelm Haranen. So that worked out pretty well. Also on their side, as the battle was joined, was Brayan of the Blind Wind. A monk. He can't see, but you wouldn't know it to see him fight. So the fight immediately started to look bad as the little creatures darted in right after Crendon got his blast off, but they still got to move in and slash and tear at the party. The couple things came evident. Number one, these creatures were tough enough that a single blow wasn't likely to take them down. It would take a really good blow. Secondly, they moved faster than anyone else, and they got 2 attacks each, which made them mulching machines. Still, the party weathered the assault. Vestia took a couple upon herself. She's magically protected, so they didn't really hurt her much. Unfortunately for Vanessa, she did get slashed pretty badly. Brandel also took some wounds for this. Haranen got a bit beat up. Glyn just sat back and just kept shooting because that's what he's good at. Eventually wondering if he should go up on top of the wagon to fire from a height, which also would keep him out of the fray, until he was reminded that he was the last person between several of these flobgoblins and Mother Selvensa. And he didn't want to really leave the eldest of the troop standing there with no defenders in front, so he stuck it out, but it was all right. The others picked those up without much difficulty, and he was perfectly effective. Eventually, after the first 2 rounds, half of the things were dead. Mostly by field magic, but still, the group were claiming blows in melee with ranged attacks and spellfire support. Once Brayan started moving in and dropping multiples at a time, as the targets became thinner and thinner and Vestia really couldn't unleash any more field spells, then it became chopping several down at a time, and it only lasted really 4 rounds of combat. Eventually, Brother Anton came up and healed Crendon, who was hurt but really hadn't been attacked after that first Thunder Wave. Which he cast a second one the round after to finish off the 3 that were still attacking him. So it worked. But the others took only minor injuries for the most part, and Brother Anton was good enough to go and heal those about him. Also, Mother Selvensa used a mass healing word and healed everybody a bit more, so that the group was pretty much back to their maximums. And after they were dead, it was supper, bed, wake up after sleep, long rest, yay, they were back refreshed fully. And then it was the lead wagon again was theirs to take. And take it they did. They marched along the road, continuing along the King's Concourse, to the east, heading towards Prondadol, which was still several days out. And, of course, their fearful mission to go off to the Castle Astronach, named after its cursed lord, who something happened. Nobody even knows what really happened there, but all of a sudden everything inside the castle was either dead, undead, or cursed. So, it's bad. It's really bad. So, as the group is going along the road, a set of hounds just comes out and attacks them. 7 big hounds, yeah. And this would have been potentially something that Vestia might have just fireballed, all dogs dead, we're going on. But Vestia now has to reserve her magic because she has a mission to do. So she wasn't going to do that. She used a firebolt, certainly, but that was it. The rest of the group took this time. Now, these hounds did not get surprise on them. The horses knew they were coming, they could hear them, and they stopped dead in their tracks and looked nervous and were jumpy in the traces, which Haranen was driving, of course. But they have Glyn. Glyn could not fail to notice that they were about to be attacked by these hounds, so everybody was well and ready. So as they approached, a volley just met them, and the hounds started to get shredded pretty badly. Several of them took damage, but then they moved in and amongst the rest of the group. This did not go well for them. Even without Kenna, the group has plenty of firepower, and if they have a couple of fighters up front to screen everything off, which they did, these hounds converged on the fighters who presented themselves, the rest of the group just teed off, using effects and spells and missile fire again from Glyn, and the fighters rolling rather well. The hounds started dropping one after the other. They were pretty tough, but at the same time, the group is superior to them, and they didn't get so much as a munch on the party. They had to double move just to get up amongst the party, and then as that they just started dying too quickly. Everybody managed to get blows in on them. It was weird because they have a ranger and a druid in the party, and these wild dogs still chose to attack them. Something is clearly going on here. But, to be fair, the ranger or the druid didn't really do anything to change them from attacking, so they did. So, after they were felled, the party continued. And they had another encounter. After about another hour or so, they met up with a troop of halflings. Yes, it was the fizzy feets. It was a family of brewers who live in Prondadol, have their distillery there and brewery, and they were traveling to Nevermore. So they were happy to share stories about what was going on, and the group did a great job of integrating and schmoozing up the halflings, who were very eager to find out what the road ahead was going to lead to. Until Prondadol took point on the negotiations. She said the right things, but her miserable role to modify the mood of the halflings to be even more helpful failed pretty badly, but the rest of the group swooped in and saved it. Ventov, especially, with his skill in brewing, was able to talk their language. And he may be a bit on the gruff side, but he's genuine. And the halflings appreciated that. As a matter of fact, several of the halflings ended up taking a shine to the party. They're pretty convinced this group of Hanatas are decent folk. And they're even looking forward to them wintering outside their city, where they'll happily provide them with some brew over the course of the winter, which is a very nice gesture. The Hanatas don't often get help like that, so it's nice. They learned a few little details here and there, but for the most part it was lore and rumors and such, which is nice to have. And then the party continued on their way. And they traveled until the noontime break. At that time, Mother Savensa came up to them and said, "Okay, it's time for your mission. I'm going to give you some things to help you out, because this is going to be very dangerous." So she gave them a sword of speed, a lucky bow, a wand of fire, a bevy of healing potions, some really decent stuff. She told them that they're looking for an amulet, a magical amulet that supposedly still resides in this cursed castle. And what it does, she didn't say. Who it's for, again, she says she doesn't know. They're just directed to do this. So they have the map that was given to them by the sponsors, and they are to go follow the map and no more, if they can avoid it, and find the treasure. So this is leading up clearly to a hike through the woods to lead to a haunted castle. Surely none of the curse is going to affect any of the creatures outside, so they'll probably have a really easy time to get to the castle. Since they have a map, there's almost no chance of them getting lost. This should probably be a cakewalk, right? Yeah. You have not been paying attention if you think that. It will be fun. But until next time, my friends, we'll see if they measure up to the challenge. And we will continue on with the next chapter of The Coldest of Blood. Thank you for joining me. I'm Rob. I'll see you next time. Farewell.